Okay, do you also think there's a possibility that numerous errors have crept into the scriptures over the years? Various religious groups today claim that we have new revelations because the Bible has been corrupted. There are also claims that the Catholic Church have removed and changed some portions of the Bible. So the question is, has the Bible been accurately transmitted? Right from the Old Testament, it has always been in the plan of God for his people to know his will. He inspired men to pen down his will and ordered that it be taught to everyone, including children. So we can read Exodus chapter 34 from verse 3 through 7, 1 Corinthians 14 verse 37, and 2 Timothy from verse 3, 16 through 17 to verify this. Another point is the fact that both testaments, the New Testament and the Old Testament, were written to benefit both generations. They were written to benefit the generation present at the time and the generation to come. So here's the thing. If these words apply to the future generation, then the words are to be preserved in an authoritative, complete, and accurate manner. Psalms says, every one of God's ordinances endures forever. Isaiah says, God's words is not like a flower that blooms and then dies, that it will stand forever. Isaiah also says, God's words is written in a book to be for the time to come and forever and ever. John 12:48 says that God's words will judge us at the last day. So this necessarily means that this word must endure till judgment so that we can know what we'll be judged by and we can prepare. Then Peter says the gospel would live and endure forever. It will not be like a flower that springs forth and then dies. So basically, both testaments were to serve as a guide for the present generations and the generations to come. So here's how God kept his promise. After Moses wrote, God commanded Joshua to meditate on Moses' words and obey them without variation. About 60 years after Moses wrote, Joshua charged Israel to keep all Moses wrote. About 400 years after Moses wrote, David charged Solomon to keep God's commands as written in the laws of Moses. About 800 years after Moses, Josiah found Moses' books of the law and used it to restore the temple's worship. About 900 years after Moses wrote, the Israelites reestablished God's service by following what Moses wrote after the Babylonian captivity. During Christ's ministry, he read from the scroll of Isaiah in the synagogue and he called it scriptures. He also endorsed the truth that the Old Testament scriptures had been preserved faithfully. Remember, Christ lived some 1,400 years after Moses and 400 years after the last Old Testament book was written. During his time, he rebuked the Jews concerning any error they committed, but he never mentioned that they had been unfaithful in their works as scribes. He quoted the Psalms, he quoted the prophets, and he quoted the law, and he claimed to have fulfilled them. Was it ever mentioned that a part of the Old Testament had been missing or the uninspired part had been added? But of course, here we are, we're bothered about the lost books of the Bible. May God help us.